So today I have a comparison of the last three premium Samsung watches. So the Watch 5 Pro is the premium of the Watch 5 series, which came out in August of 2022. Watch 6 Classic came out in 2023, and the Watch 7 Ultra came out in August of 2024. We're going to go over all the similarities of these, what the differences are. Then at the end of the video, I'm going to tell you why you should buy each one of these, and then why you should not buy each of these. As you can see here, these are the screens. I got the same brightness as much as I could on there, and I got the same watch face, so you could actually see the different bezels on here. The Watch 5 Pro on the left looks a little dated because of the big bezels. And I'm also going to try to keep the screens on as much as possible, but keeping three screens on with the automatic timeout is a little tough, but I'll give it a shot. Okay, so let's talk about the similarities. First off, all the screens are made out of sapphire crystal, so super durable there. You don't need any screen protectors on these guys. They're all IP68 rated and military standard 810, so super durable. I'll go over to some of the build quality differences in a little bit. They all have basically the same sensors. The Watch 5 Pro introduced the temperature sensor. They have a barometer, a compass, but the Ultra does have an upgraded bioactive sensor, which is supposed to be more accurate. They all have the bioelectric impedance analysis, or BIA sensor, which basically is the body composition analysis. This gives you details about your body fat percentage, your body water content, and your skeletal muscle mass. They all have an ECG, but that is manual. They do have an irregular heart rate detection that runs in the background, and Samsung calls that the irregular heart rhythm notification. All three of these do have the fall detection and the SOS features, which are actually very good and not offered on all smartwatches. The other important similarities is they all have 4 years of major software updates, with 1 more year of security updates guaranteed by Samsung. So basically a total of 5 years of support on these, and that's a little important because the Watch 5 Pro is getting a little older. They all run the same software versions. Even though the Watch 7 just came out with the latest software, the 6 Classic and the Watch 5 Pro both got updated. So basically the software is exactly the same on all of them. And that will continue each year. They'll all get the updates until the Watch 5 Pro stops getting the updates. They all have the same charging speed, which is 10 watts. The Ultra, I saw some reviews that said it was 15 watts, but I believe this is 10 watts. All three support offline maps and GPX files, which is great if you have a specific route that you want to download and follow. Okay, let's talk about the screen size on these. So the Watch 5 Pro is the smallest. It has 1.4 inches, and it does have that larger bezel there. It is raised, so it's very easy to kind of slide around here on the edge. If you have any of the standard Watch 5 or 6 or 7s, I don't like that digital bezel because you can kind of just slide right off. You know, for me, I mean, obviously it's not that big of a deal, but having that raised ridge just makes it much easier to stay on this bezel and just make the rotation much easier. Now, the brightness on the Watch 5 Pro is 1000 nits, and the resolution is 450 by 450. Now, let's get to the Watch 6 Classic here. This did get a little bump in screen size, and it's 1.5 inches, and mostly that's because they shrank the bezel there. You can see the much smaller bezel. This does double the brightness, though. It goes up to 2000 nits, and the resolution is slightly better at 480 by 480, but not a big difference. Okay, now we got the Ultra here, and you can see there's a completely different design here. But this is still 1.5 inches, and the brightness actually went up again by 50% now. So now it's 3000 nits, which is exceedingly bright. The Watch 5 Pro at 1000 nits, I thought that was perfectly fine brightness-wise. Definitely good enough for everything inside, and even in direct sunlight with 1000 nits, it was just fine for me to see the Watch 5 Pro. So I didn't have any issues with that. The 3000 nits on the Ultra is probably a little overkill. And if you set it on auto brightness and allow it to get that bright, that might kill your battery a lot. So it's almost a little bit of a disadvantage. So keep that in mind. But the resolution is the same as the Classic, 480 by 480, and they all look very sharp. I didn't have any issues with the screen, the resolution, the clarity, the colors. Everything was great on all of them. They're very good. Okay, so let's talk about the build on these. So the Watch 5 Pro and the Ultra do come in only one size. The Watch 5 Pro is 45 millimeters, and the Watch 7 Ultra is 47 millimeters. The 6 Classic does have a 43 and a 47 millimeter size. The one right here is the 47. Now, the thickness is a little bit of an issue, and when the Watch 5 Pro came out, everyone was complaining how thick it was and saying how much of an issue it is and how uncomfortable it is to sleep with and all that kind of stuff. But that's 10.5 millimeters. Let me just put all these together. So I know it's a little hard to see the difference there. The Watch 5 Pro on the left, that's the 10.5 millimeters. The Watch 6 Classic, again, just about the same, 10.9 millimeters of thickness. And then the Watch Ultra, you could see you could probably see that that's a little bit bulkier. That is 12.1 millimeters. I'm wearing it, and I don't have any issues with the thickness of it. It feels maybe a little bulkier, but I kind of like the bigger watches, so I don't have any issues with that. But the other thing you might notice is the weight. The weight of the Watch 5 Pro is 46 grams, and this is just the actual watch, not the band. So if you have a heavy band, that could make a difference too. Then the Watch 6 Classic jumped up because it's made out of stainless steel, but that is 59 grams. And then the 7 Ultra is 60.5 grams. So, just about the same as the Watch 6 Classic, but the Watch 5 Pro is lighter. And the reason why it's lighter is because the Watch 5 Pro is made out of titanium. The Watch 6 Classic, like I said, that's stainless steel. And the 7 is titanium, but it also has some extra stuff on there to make it a little more durable. And there's several durability increases on the Watch 7 Ultra. I'm not going to get into all of them, but a big one is the Watch 5 Pro and the Watch 6 Classic are both rated for 5 atmospheres, and the Watch 7 Ultra is rated for 10 atmospheres. So that's down to 100 meters. So if you're using these for scuba diving or something like that, which probably not too many people are, but, it's there. The health tracking is just about the same on all of them. The 5 Pro and the Watch 6 Classic both have the same features. Nothing added on either of those things. That temperature sensor is basically just used for cycle tracking and for sleep tracking. But the Watch 7 Ultra does add an energy score. It does add sleep apnea detection, which is really nice. And it does also add another feature, which is the AGE, which is the Advanced Glycation End Products measurement, which I guess gives you a measurement of your metabolic health, which is kind of a confusing metric. I don't know if it really gives you all that much information, but the energy score is nice, and that might be brought down to the other watches, but the sleep apnea and the age information won't be coming down to the other two, likely because of the hardware is different on the Ultra. The improved sensor allows for those measurements, so I don't think you're going to get them on these two. Okay, there's been a couple of changes on the internals and the sensors. Not too much, but let's go over some of them. The Watch 5 Pro and the Watch 6 Classic both have single-band GPS, and the Watch 7 Ultra, they made a big deal that it is dual-band, so that should be more accurate for you, especially if you're around a lot of tall buildings or obstructions like trees and things like that. That should make it a little more accurate. The processing chip did get a little bit better each year. I saw some reviews where people were complaining about the Watch 5 Pro was very laggy, and they noticed such a big difference with the Watch 7 Ultra. It's maybe a little slower, but it wasn't really that big of a difference. If you didn't have them side by side, I don't think you would have an issue, and I think you'd be completely fine with the Watch 5 Pro. But that could be an issue down the road, as it gets a little older and the software gets a little more complex. I don't know. Having a better processor is always better, obviously. Let's talk about the RAM. There's 1.5 gigabytes on the Watch 5 Pro, and then the Watch 6 Classic and the Watch 7 Ultra do get a bump up to 2 gigabytes, which should allow you to have more apps running and a smoother operation, basically. There was a change on the storage as well. So on the Watch 5 Pro and the Watch 6 Classic, there's 16 gigabytes each of storage, and then on the Watch 7 Ultra, it doubled to 32 gigabytes. If you have a lot of music on the watch, you might notice it. Let's talk about the battery, because this is pretty interesting. The battery size on the Watch 5 Pro, and Samsung really touted this as, a multi-day watch and, really durable and things like that. And you can go out trekking, do the forest and go away for a few days and still get back and your watch will still have battery. That was like their big thing. But it had a 590 milliamp battery. Then the Watch 6 Classic went down to a 525 milliamp battery, and this is on the bigger watch, and that was terrible. That was, again, maybe a day and a half. People say they squeezed out 2 days. I got usually almost always a day and a half, so I was basically charging this every day, which I didn't really love doing that. Now, the Watch 7 Ultra, 2 years later, they went back to the 590 milliamp hours. Maybe they made a lot of them in 2022 and they figured they'd just start installing them on the Watch 7 Ultra. I don't know. I wish they would bump up the battery with all this thickness on it, but they didn't. I talked a little bit about the actual battery life, but the rated time on the Watch 5 Pro is 80 hours. I usually got 3 to 4 days pretty easily on that, so even better than the rated time. The Watch 6 Classic was 40 hours, again, about a day and a half. And then the Watch 7 Ultra, it's rated for 48 hours and then 100 hours in the power saving mode. And the power saving mode basically keeps your screen a little dimmer. It doesn't wake up as much. It limits the CPU and things like that. So even in the power saving mode, you're only going to get 100 hours, which is, I don't know, kind of lousy, I think. So the strap, that's right here. This is the same on the 5 Pro and the 6 Classic, so your bands could be interchangeable. This is 20 millimeters. And this strap, this is the original D strap that came with the 5 Pro. This was $90, I believe, from Samsung if you wanted to buy it separately. This strap that I put on the Watch 6 Classic, I bought for, I think, $12. I do have a video that talks about the differences between these two, and in the video I go into more detail, but they are basically exactly the same. So if you want to save some money and you love this D-band band here, with the magnetic clip like this, like I said, I'll leave a link for that video. You can check it out and see if you're interested. But there's big savings available if you know what to look for. The Watch 7 Ultra does have a proprietary band that clips into here. There is a quick release on it, which is a little nice, but again, it's a proprietary band, so you have to get it from Samsung, or maybe some third parties are going to come up with something. Now, I did buy this, and I'm going to be testing these out a little bit. These clip in to the watch, and then it turns it into a standard 22 millimeter band. So then all the bands that you have, you could actually use. The Watch 6 Classic and the Watch 5 Pro do not have that quick release on there. They have the usual pins that you quick release. They just kind of pull the pin aside and you could change this to any band that you want. Okay, so that actually covers, I think, most of the similarities and most of the differences. Not everything, but most of them. And I think I hit on all the big ones. Now I'm going to go into the why you should buy the Watch 5 Pro. So one of the big reasons is it's much cheaper. When this was first released, this was $450 retail. And then, of course, if you got the LTE version, that's $50 more. So $500 for this. That's a lot of money. Now, you can buy them still new in some places. And obviously, if you buy a refurbished or a used or something like that, then they're quite a bit cheaper. Just to keep in mind, if you do buy a used one or a refurbished one, you're getting a 2-year-old battery. So the life on that might be a little reduced. Now, another reason to buy this is build quality, because this is made out of titanium. Again, very durable. The sapphire crystal on the front. Samsung, this was kind of their big first one that they really emphasized the durability of it. And it is very durable. I mean, again, 2 years old, really no scratches or anything. So, I mean, this is perfect. I love not having a screen protector on here. And again, super durable. I love the raised bezel on here, so it makes it very nice and easy to stay on the little track here, so that's perfect. And again, another reason to buy it is the great battery life. 3-4 days on this pretty easily, and definitely 3 days. Even if you're a heavy user, you should be getting 3 days on this. And the other thing is, again, cheaper price, but you're getting the same sensors as basically the 6 Classic and the 7 Ultra even. The 7 Ultra is slightly improved sensors, but not that much of a difference. The Ultra does have the better processor and things like that, but again, not much of a difference day-to-day use. I don't think you really notice it having the Watch 5 Pro. So definitely a good watch to get. Now, why wouldn't you buy this watch? Well, there's a couple of reasons for that as well. You're getting less software support. Again, Samsung promises 4 years of major updates and then 1 year of security updates. So that's 5 years, and this came out in 2022. So you have to 2027, and probably a little after that, that it will still be working. If you have your NFC on here and credit cards and you use it for payments and stuff like that, security becomes more and more of an issue. But you got to 2027. Some people don't like that digital bezel. That took a little getting used to for me, but actually I really like it. Especially with the ridge here, it makes the digital bezel actually work very good, even a little easier and quicker than the physical bezel. I love the physical rotating bezel, but digital bezel, this was the first watch I had it with it, and it actually worked out very well, and I got very used to it, and it's very quick to use. So there's pros and cons on the bezel, but this one does have the digital bezel. If you love it or hate it, that's what you got. The screen is not as bright as the other two. It's only 1,000 nits, but again, I still think that's just fine. I review a bunch of budget smartwatches that have 600 nits, and that's very good for almost everything except direct sunlight maybe, but this one I think was bright enough for just about everything. Some people thought it was a little laggy. I knew I was going to be doing a comparison video between the Ultra and the Watch 5 Pro, so I charged it up and wore it. I wasn't wearing it as much lately because I had some other watches I was wearing, but it's working just fine for me. I don't have any lag. And also the other thing that you may not like about this is that big black bezel there. It, obviously it serves a purpose, but it also is, not that nice looking, right? I'd rather have a thinner bezel, like on the Classic. There's, the difference on the bezels. Significant difference. Now, let's get into the Watch 6 Classic. Why would I buy this? Same thing as the 5 Pro. It is cheaper. It's a year old, so you can get some discounts on it for sure. Another reason to get this is looks more like a classic smartwatch. You got the rounded design here. The stainless steel design here, it just looks like a very high-end watch. The bezel here looks great, and even looks like a regular watch. If you put an analog on here, it looks like a regular watch. So very nice look. Of course, if you need the rotating bezel, this is where you have to go. It's either here or the Watch 4 Classic. So, this would be your better option than the Watch 4 because that battery life is even worse. And again, mostly the same sensors as the 7 Ultra, so you get, you're paying a lot less money on it. And this was cheaper when it came out, so it's going to be cheaper now. The Ultra had a big price bump, so we're going to talk about that in a minute. For a cheaper price, you get just about everything the Ultra is offering. So this is definitely a watch to consider, especially if you want the rotating bezel. Then you don't have any choice. You have to get this one. Now, again, why wouldn't you buy this? Well, it's a little heavier than the other watches, which it doesn't bother me, but if you're the kind of person who doesn't like a heavy watch, then maybe this is not for you. If you are wearing it, you definitely are going to be wearing it for sleep tracking. I had no issues with it, but it is a little heavier and a little thicker, so, maybe this is not your watch. You do get less software support. Again, this came out in 2023, so you have until 2028 with software updates. I doubt Samsung's going to increase that, but there's a possibility of it. But for right now, I'd plan for 2028 of this being obsolete, right? The battery life, that's another reason you wouldn't buy this. The battery life I thought was terrible. A day and a half on a smartwatch, that you're paying so much money for. I don't like that at all. I love the watch. I love the bezel. I love the look of it. I love actually a little bit of heaviness on it, but the battery life is just killer. I hate charging a watch every night, so that was almost like a definite no for me. So let's move on. Now we got the big boy. We got the Watch 7 Ultra here, right? I actually got the Watch 7 originally, and I was not going to get the Ultra just because I said, what? How much do they want for this? It was just an insane price jump, and there really wasn't that much difference between this and the 7. So, but now I bought it, right? You know, I had to do it. And actually, it's silly, but, you know, just a little design here, this band that it came with, it's actually really nice. So I'm glad I bought it, but I probably could have, you know, stayed with the 7 and been just fine as well. But let's talk about the differences. Why would you buy the Ultra? Well, you're going to buy it for the build quality. You know, there is, you know, some extreme temperatures that it's going to handle. It's got the 10 atmospheres. It's made out of titanium. It's got the sapphire crystal in the front. It also does have that raised bezel, so it does give you some extra protection. It also does keep it, you know, on the path here, so you can glide around real easy. So I do like that. And again, super durable. That's what Samsung is marketing this for. This is, of course, the newest watch, so you're going to get the longest software support on this. It's 5 years from now, which is, you know, quite a bit of time. Good battery life, not great, but good battery life. And, you know, if you can get 2 or 3 days out of it, that would be good. 2 days is, you know, less good, but still, I guess, okay if you want to be in the WearOS system, but a little disappointed on the battery life. But it's still better than the Pixel Watch, you know, things like that. So it's still better, but not great. Another reason to buy this is the bright screen, 3000 nits. I mean, this is super bright. No issues with that. I mean, the screen is very bright and sharp and resolution's perfect. Another reason to buy this is just you like the look of it. You like the design. You know, you got the 3 buttons over here. That's a different thing here. You got the button here that does give you a quick access to a couple of different apps, which Samsung will probably open up tomorrow, I think, because there's only a few apps you can get to now. And you do have a siren on here. If you hold this down, it does make an 89 decibel siren, I believe. But then if you have the 2 standard buttons like you normally do. The other thing is this, you know, you don't really notice it, but you got a square face here, and you don't have the prongs sticking out. If you look here, you know, you got these prongs sticking out where the band goes in. Everyone was talking about the square versus the circle, but you also don't have the prongs sticking out like that. So that makes it look, I don't know, a little more neat, a little more different. And then they do have the 3 different colors on here, and the actual watch comes in different colors, which is kind of a new thing for Samsung. But, you know, again, you have to like the look of it. And if you like this look, you like the big, heavy look of it, it is 47 millimeters. And if you like that, then, of course, get it. And the other reason to buy this is because Samsung gives you crazy trade-in offers right now. You know, they had it for the pre-order. They're going to have it a couple of times during the year. They're going to offer you some great trade-ins. So this is a super expensive watch, the $650. But it does come with LTE built in, which if you don't use it, then obviously you'd be like, well, great, thanks for nothing. But if you do get a good trade-in deal, they had the Samsung Watch 5 Pro here. This was $350 for trade-in. So that's a pretty good trade-in for a 2-year-old watch. So if you can get a good trade-in, then it actually, the crazy price might be worth it. So you look into that, and if you like it, then go ahead and buy it. Now, why wouldn't you buy this one? So there's definitely a couple of reasons for it. One, which I really wasn't thinking about, but I didn't have it on my list, but you can get everything that the Watch 7 Ultra has in the regular Watch 7 for half the price. The only thing you lose is some durability. You know, you lose this extra button here, but basically it's the same. So that's a big thing to consider, first off, if you don't want to spend that much money. The other thing, it has that proprietary strap, which I hate, you know, but that is what it is. Again, I'll show you those clips and I'll test them out and see if they're any good. I'll leave a link in the description if you want to look into those. It is, you know, you may not like the big bulky look. Obviously, if you don't like it, then, you know, don't buy it. Another con of this is it's super expensive. It's the most expensive watch that Samsung ever sold, so definitely a big one on that. The digital bezel, if you want the classic physical bezel, then this is not your watch. It does have the digital bezel like, you know, basically all the new watches for the most part. The other thing that you do that they don't really talk too much about, but you lose reverse charging on this. So you can't just put this on your phone and charge it. You could plug it in, and if you brought the charger with you, then that would work. You plug this into the USB of the smartphone, and then, you know, you could charge it, but you can't just sit it on the watch like you can with the other 2 watches. These have reverse charging, which is nice, so you don't have to worry about bringing a cable with you. So those are a couple of things to think about. That wraps up my discussion on the premium Samsung watches. Which one are you going to buy? Was this helpful for you? Do you want more videos like this? Leave it in the comments and let me know. I'll also leave it in the description. I did do some more detailed reviews of the other watches. I'll leave those in the description. And if there's any questions, let me know. Thanks for watching. Please consider subscribing, and I'll see you on the next video.